NASCAR Hall of Famer Jimmie Johnson and traction control? Yeah, it happened once upon a time. Hey, it's your host, Rick Houston, and welcome to this week's edition of As the Wrench Turns. Over the years here at the Scene Vault Podcast, we've had plenty of stories about racers attempting to gain a competitive advantage over their peers.
How did you find out about what NASCAR had found on the car? They discovered a nitrous oxide bottle. How did you find out that they had found something?
Bill Gasaway called me in the hospital.
In the hospital.
And that was probably 2 days later. And if you remember Bill Gasaway, he was like, he wanted to be like Billy France. I mean, he was very in charge. And when he said it, it was cast in stone. And he just called me up and he said that the car had been broken half in front, and so the line was showing, and we had to dig into it and find it. We found a nitrous bottle, and we're going to give you a little vacation. It was a $5,000 penalty, and I was out for the rest of the year.
Well, it has been said that we made the race with nitrous. Now, I'm not going to deny that.
That car we won with, Rick's funny story, we had pushed the rules quite a bit, and we had painted the chassis black. It was a night race, so we painted chassis black. And after we won the race, we're in tear down, and the inspectors are like, "We need a flashlight. We can't see under here." And all my guys were like, "Well, here's a flashlight. We could turn the batteries upside down so so the flashlights wouldn't work." So they're trying to inspect the car at night, and the chassis is pitch black, so you can't see nothing, right? So they were pissed that we had painted the chassis black because, like I said, we had pushed some rules and made it very, very hard for them to measure those rules and police things after the race.
We'd come up with a deal where we could kill a cylinder. It was like traction control back then. But we could kill the cylinder coming off the corner, and when he got off the button, it would pick up all 8 cylinders. But
now that wasn't legal.
No, it wasn't legal. Y'all said when I come in here and talk to y'all, I can tell some stories. Well, I'm telling a story.
Did Bertha have a lot of fuel line in it?
Yeah, one time. For some reason, how we got caught.
We need details on Bertha.
That's the one. I noticed that you didn't answer my question.
Yeah.
What made that car special?
There was a lot of cheating shit on it. Am I allowed to say that? If I wanted I seen something on another car that I wanted to know that it was wrong, all I had to do was go tell Jake Elder or Dale Edmond.
Yeah, Dale Edmond.
I'd tell him first, and you could walk away and everything, and you could watch him. It'd be 5 minutes. There he goes in NASCAR trailer.
Yeah.
He going over there to tell. You know what Harry Hyde's doing?
And I reach over to the nitrogen tank, take the air hose, stick it in the vent, and I go, shh, 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 shh. And it goes, boom. And I mean, Rick, people came out of cars for 20 stalls down. That's not cheating, Rick. We never got caught.
Okay.
Let's put it this way. In a lot of cases, it's not a matter of if a team tried to bend the rules, but how it tried to bend them and how the infractions could be hidden. Here's Tony Rambo Liberati on how he dealt with NASCAR wanting to inspect the springs on driver Jimmie Johnson's car following a 5th place finish in the 2001 Busch Series season opener at Daytona.
I walked over to the toolbox, picked up 2 rear springs, carried them over and said, "Here you go." Because back then, sometimes they paid attention, sometimes they didn't, and I gave them 2 springs, never took them springs out of the car.
Figuring out how to cram more fuel into a car? Oh yeah, Rambo's been there and done that.
And everybody knows that worked on them cars before they started getting crazy is you would do whatever you could do to get as much fuel in as you can, up to and including putting a bladder in the body shop and heating it up full of air.
And then there was traction control. For a few years in the early 2000s, there were all kinds of rumors over who had it, who didn't, and how heavy the penalty would have been if NASCAR ever did catch somebody with it. It's safe to say that the hammer would have come down hard and fast. Those on the lookout for the devices were at the highest levels of the sanctioning body. After crew chief Harold Holly and driver Jeff Green won a 2000 Busch Series race at Myrtle Beach, Mike Helton was there, and it wasn't to congratulate anybody.
So when we went in the trailer, Green and I were sitting in there, and Mike's like, I come here to get you. He said, you know, y'all are the way y'all are running, we're just having a hard time, and we're getting enough complaints to where, you know, we got to look, and we're doing. I said, Mr. Helton, I said, what are you looking for? He said, we're looking for traction control. I said, well, Mr. Helton, I said, you looking in the wrong spot. He said, what are you talking about? I said, man, you looking in the wrong spot. All that work out there. I said, hell, right there it is. It's in his shoe. He looked at us and said, y'all get the hell out of my office.
A couple of years later, Jeff and Harold's PPC racing teammate Jason Keller went on a tear with a career-high 4 wins. When he qualified and finished second that July in Milwaukee,
I can remember Gary Nelson. We were on the front straightaway getting ready to start the race, and I either qualified on the pole or outside pole, and I can remember him almost being in the right side of my car when I started the car. And after that race, actually I can remember before I got in the car, a NASCAR official came over and asked me if I had anything in my pockets. And
wow.
I didn't. And Nelson was on the front straightaway, and I can remember when the car parked after the race, they took all the electronics out of the car.
Despite the intensity of the search, despite all the rumors that flew around the NASCAR garage, I don't remember anybody at the Cup, Busch, or truck level ever being caught with traction control. Nobody had ever even admitted to it after the fact until we caught up with Tony Liberati.
We tried traction control too. I still got the box. I can show it to you.
Really?
In fact, next time I come over, I'll show it to you. But it was built into the ignition box. And we run it, and Jimmie said, it's messing me up. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I know what it's trying to do. I can do better.
Surely Rambo was talking about some test session somewhere. He would not have chanced taking the risk of running traction control during a race, would he?
Oh, yeah. We had it in a race. What do they call that place out in Colorado?
Pikes Peak.
Yeah. Run at Pikes Peak.
Okay. All right.
And that's when the driver told me he didn't like it.
The following season, in 2002, Jimmie Johnson moved full-time to the Winston Cup Series with Hendrick Motorsports and crew chief Chad Knaus. Once in the 48 car, Johnson and Knaus played it safe and followed the letter of the law to a T. Now just wait a second. Let's check that. Over the course of his career with Jimmie Johnson, Chad Knaus was hammered with fines and suspensions and points deductions over and over and over again. But hey, at least Chad and Jimmie were never caught with traction control. This is your host, Rick Houston. I hope you've enjoyed this episode of the Scene Vault Podcast. Other than Jimmie Johnson back in his Busch Series days, who else do you think ran traction control, and why? Let us know in the comments below.